Justin, are you gonna tell me when we're on?
Well, it's 6 o'clock, so you can start when you'd like.
We can, okay, so, but we are being live streamed, are we not?
According to the note on the screen.
Yes. We are.
We've lost
David.
David. Okay, it is 6 o'clock and I will bring the meeting to order. This is the special council meeting of September 12th, 2022. It is 6 p.m. And our mission tonight is to select a new council member. So the agenda is we'll conduct interviews and then have public comment. And we've reserved the right to have an executive session if necessary, but my hope is that in the interest of transparency, we can just discuss candidate qualifications in public. But that's open if the council overrules me. And then we'll have a discussion and a selection and the oath of office and then assign new boards and commissions. Proposed. So, since we've whittled down to two candidates, if you would both take seats at the table here, I would appreciate that. And we're just going to start throwing some questions at you. Yeah, remember me? Seat selection. So the plan would be to have each council member start with a question and each of you answer the question and we will alternate who starts first. So Nancy Goodlow, would you like to, just back up. Monica Miller is with us from Olympia, I believe, out of town. And Rich Elliott is with us, but not on a kind of phone line. He's on the phone. And so he will be listening and not asking questions. So Nancy, if you want to start with question number 1.
Okay. If there was one project or area of emphasis you would like to see the city focus on over the next 4 years, what would it be and why?
We're going to start with Sarah and next time start with Henry.
So as a small business owner and a parent and ally to the LGBT community, I would like to focus on building an inclusive community. I think that's needs to be a front runner. I believe this project could drastically improve if the city were to focus on bridging the gaps between our distinct communities. We've got the university, we've got our downtown core businesses, we've got our rural residents, our farmers, our ranchers. Bridging the gap between those separate communities would be a huge help in bringing our community together. As a small business owner to our farmers, our ranchers, and the most inclusive university in the nation, we do have a lot to offer in this community. And I believe with the more diverse community, it could lead to more involvement and participation from our community, more ideas and more businesses, which in turn could lead to economic development along with that. So I think with the guidance of the city council and community members, this project is worth putting a lot of emphasis on.
Thank you. It just occurred to me, are we timing and should we put the blue timer thing up there so that you all know?
Well, I timed
Did
all of mine.
Judge-
They're 3 minutes or less.
Okay.
I've
Yeah, I
been
don't
practicing
talk
all
much
week,
either.
so.
Yeah, 3 minutes can be a long time or it can be a short time depending. Okay, well, proceed with answering question number 1 then.
Okay. Well, this question ties into the other questions that will be asked as they relate to affordable housing and economic vitality. The city needs to make a concerted effort to make it easier to do business in town, both from the perspective of new or relocating businesses and for developers who want to build housing and commercial spaces. One of the major complaints frequently heard around town is that the city is incredibly difficult to work with when it comes to any form of project. Whether it's getting permitted to open and operate a business, especially in the downtown historical district where the Landmarks and Design Commission, an unelected body that holds way too much power over the rights of private property owners, where they run into that, to the expense and delays in getting all of the required permits, the city needs to take on a new philosophy of being efficient and affordable, while also still being responsible and fair in the way we grow our economy and housing sectors. Last Tuesday, this council was presented with a report from Centrifuge where it was laid out in very clear terms that our permit fees are considered too high and that our process is incredibly frustrating to developers. We have experts who focus on these matters, and the council needs to listen closely to what they're saying. Ellensburg's motto needs to be, we're here and we're open for business. And that's the approach that I would intend to take if selected for this seat, making it easier to do business with and in the city of Ellensburg.
Thank you. David?
Next, so we're alternating some of the two.
To Henry first.
Okay. So the second question is, what would you propose the city do to increase public engagement in decision-making, such as commenting on plans, projects, priorities, and policy changes?
Okay. In his book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Arthur Douglas Adams tells the story of Arthur Dent, who was faced one day with the fact that aliens are going to destroy the earth. When he was told, he didn't know that it was going to happen, and he was told that the plans were available and there was plenty of notice, except they were on display in the bottom of a locked filing cabinet stuck in a disused lavatory with a sign on the door saying, beware of the leopard. I share this reference because in the last few months, as I was preparing for this appointment process and learning more about city government, I spent a very fair amount of time on the city's website reading and learning. Anything that I wanted to find, I easily could. Took some digging if I wasn't quite sure, but if you can think logically in navigating a website, then the information is really not that hard to find. This became especially true in real time, actually, when the fences went up and the news broke on social media about the development happening at the old Motel 6 location. Took me maybe all of 5 minutes to get to the city's website, find community development, find the application, and learn about what the developer wanted to do. It was just literally that easy. I find the city to be very transparent in their information dissemination on social media, their website, and other communication methods. All somebody has to do is look for it and the answer can be found. The problem is that we live in such an apathetic society that many people don't pay attention until it directly affects them. And it's usually after all the meetings are done, hearings are held, permits are issued, things are ready to roll, and we break ground. Then people seem to come out of the woodwork to object. My advice for myself and for anybody in the community is if you see a land use action poster up, take the time to read it. Take the time to get on the city's website to learn more. The information is there. It's easy to access the city council packet, commission packets, minutes, you name it, it's there. And people can even watch remotely and participate remotely from the comfort of their own home. So the city, the long and short of this is the city is doing everything that they can to get the information out there. But the fact of the matter is that decisions are made by those who show up. So is the city failing residents? I don't think so. I think what's happening is the residents are failing themselves. Because as my grandfather said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And the city has given and continues to give every opportunity for the community to drink. They just have to want to.
Thank you. Sarah, same question. And if y'all want anything repeated,
I
let
can
us know.
repeat it if you'd like.
I don't need to, thank you though. So when I think about the public engagement with the city government, we need to consider who we're trying to reach, and that's our community. And we have a vast, I mean, it could be an 18-year-old high school kid, their first time voting, their first time allowed to have their voice heard at this level. And it could be a lifelong resident who has very much been invested in this city and its small government. And how all these different demographics process the information, receive it, everything is completely different. So having numerous ways to do this is, I think, key here. With that being said, we have 2 to 3 current ways that are being used that I'm aware of, and that's the Be Heard eBird platform. social media, and then the print and the daily record. Which they all work for some demographics. However, I think the opportunity to reach more community members is a mailing, a quarterly mailing. Again, like Henry said, that, you can't make them look up the information, but sometime, I mean, I know my parents, my father reads his mail front to cover, no matter what piece of mail it is. So that would be a way to reach him. Then I think the QR codes. We are a society that has our phones in our hand constantly, and it is the simplest and easiest way to be able to just pop up a survey that the city might be taking or find out what's happening. And then I think that lastly is representation in the community. So before I became a small business owner in Ellensburg, I didn't have one idea who was on city council. I didn't know who our mayor was. I did not know. We've got great opportunity at our local farmers market which I sit on the board at. So I know I'm aware to have a table and maybe, and I know that your time, you're all, putting in time on top of jobs in your lives, but maybe have someone at the farmers market just to meet the people that are there. Be at the rodeo, to the places where our community goes together in social settings to be represented and hear them, because we can tell they aren't coming to these meetings and they're dry. I'll give it that, so I mean, a lot of people. So as Henry said, the people that you hear from are the ones that have typically a negative thing to say after it's been done. And so, because I think that what people forget is that the city council members live, work, raise their families right in this community that they're representing. And so when these decisions are made, it not only affects the community, but it affects the city council members. And so I think that people need to know that and remember that.
Thank you. Monica Miller, would you like to ask question number 3?
Sure thing. What do you think that city government's role can or should be in promoting economic vitality?
And Sarah, this is you first.
So economic vitality, I'd like to focus my answer on the economic development, because as a business owner in the downtown core and a member of our community, it's very important to me. City council can create an environment of business to flourish in their communities in a variety of ways. The most basic is to provide an environment that is safe and stable. And this goes back to what I'd love to see happen with an all-inclusive, safe environment community. We need to have a sound physical infrastructure with regulations that are transparent and easy to understand. It makes sense to begin by retaining, strengthening, expanding existing businesses in the community. This is a low-risk commitment for the city because these businesses are already established and they're contributing in the form of jobs, income, and taxes. Each economic development is not only economic growth, it's as important as that may be, but to be developmental, it must be inclusive, providing supports and opportunities for those who are typically marginalized, particularly women, the youth, the indigenous people, ethnic minorities, and people with disabilities. It is important also to lend a helping hand to the existing business, not only look at the existing businesses, but looking outward at the future in the downtown is equally as important. As I look back at my time as an aspiring entrepreneur and getting my business up and running, it would have been extremely helpful. And now Centrifuge is a great thing. And I thoroughly enjoyed last week's meeting and her presentation. But I didn't know about that when I came, or if they were in existence when I came to Ellensburg to start my business. And just to, how to maybe write up a business proposal, a business plan, how to select a commercial property, how to, as simple as getting a point of sale system to get your business up and running, marketing efforts and more. I know the chamber does do some things, but again, until I became a member of chamber, I didn't know any of those services were available. So therefore, I believe that we created kind of a welcome package or something. I was looking on the city's website and maybe even just a little bit, because it says, get involved, or it says community. maybe there is a welcome package for new businesses on what steps to take, who to contact for those permits, for those licensings and those types of things. That would have been a huge help. And I think that with the city council's help, we can really promote diversity and inclusion for future job opportunities right here in Ellensburg.
Thank you. And Henry,
Okay.
same question.
Same question. President Ronald Reagan is famously quoted as saying, "The 9 scariest words in the English language are 'I'm from the government and I'm here to help.'" And I find that to be true when it comes to government agencies wading too far into the private sector. We have many economic development organizations in this county, from the Chamber of Commerce to Centrifuge, the Ellensburg Downtown Association, just to name a few, who are doing great work to grow our economy and bring more residents with better paying jobs into town. Centrifuge in particular, I want to point out, they're telling the city what needs to happen, but I'm not entirely sure the city's listening to them. Just last week, Sarah and I both sat and heard the presentation from Centrifuge where a number of concerns were presented about business development, one of which is that our permit fees are too high. In the same meeting, and I want to clarify, this is not a comment on the ordinance itself, but an ordinance was introduced on first reading to set the permit fee for projects over 1 million that was significantly higher than the other comparable cities in our region. Now, I know there's a process that goes with approving an ordinance and that amendments can be made, but council needs to listen closely to what our business development groups are saying. In my view, the city's role is to create a welcoming environment for business to open, grow, and thrive, letting those with expertise in the field do what they do, and to be blunt, get out of the way. Ellensburg's motto needs to be, "We're here, we're affordable, we're efficient, and we're open for business. How can we help?" Not, "Here's the checklist you need to complete, pay these fees, get your permits, and maybe we'll get around to approving you in 6 to 8 months. Something has got to change, and I hope that the business-minded eyes that I can bring to the council will be beneficial.
Thank you. Adam, would you like question number 4?
What do you think the city's government's role can or should be in addressing housing affordability?
Very similar to the one that I gave regarding economic vitality. The fact of the matter is that we still are a capitalist society, that we still have private property rights, and that real estate can, will, and should be bought, sold, and rented at whatever the market can bear. As with any goods or services, when inventory is low, prices increase. When there's more inventory than there are buyers, prices go down. That's economics 101. And as an elder millennial who in my adult life has now survived 2 near apocalyptic economic disasters, the first one in 2008 and 2009, and then the second during the shutdowns from COVID-20, 2020, and now living in the midst of a third, which is the result of uncontrollable inflation and interest rates, I know from experience, having lived through now 3 of these, things eventually stabilize. It's not going to be easy, and I'm not tone deaf to those that are struggling, but government's answer can't be wading too far into the private sector with rent control regulations or overly restrictive CC&Rs on developments that come in. What the city can do is lay the groundwork for the economics to work themselves out naturally by making the development and permitting costs as low as legally allowable while still being safe and reasonable. Permitting needs to be fast-tracked so that developers can build more dwelling units faster, again, as safe and as responsible as possible without unnecessary delay. And eventually the market will stabilize.
Let's see, and Sarah, same question, number 4.
Okay, this is a tough question because there really is no easy answer. On one hand, a large portion of Ellensburg is made of small business who generally pay $15 to $18 an hour, and the work is part-time. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Washington, now I went with Washington because it used to be where housing was much more affordable on the eastern side of the state. It still is not the Seattle area, but we are increasing. We had a 19% increase in rent from 2020 in Ellensburg. And the average rental property right now is about $1,300 to $1,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment. That's not a home. And the median income in Ellensburg is less than $20,000 a year. And that does count for a lot of the college kids. It is skewed a little bit with the part-time, jobs for the kids. So, but that is only about, 43 to less than 50,000 a year for a family, for a dual income. So although we can't dictate how the housing market behaves or how much a property owner will charge for rent each month, I believe the city council can find solutions by partnering with local organizations such as Hope Source, Habitat, to name a few, to provide assistance and resources for our Ellensburg residents. These resources could include rent and mortgage assistance grants, available apartment units, and posting job opportunities, just types of things that can get people the income they need to be able to afford these. So, and I was looking on the website at the affordable housing situation, and every incentive that I was able to find was geared towards the new development and to the contractors and people that are buying these properties and developing them, where when you're looking at where your rental properties are, why not work with people that own these private houses that are already established and apartments and give them incentive to keep their rent low for the people? I mean, instead of just building new places and they're the only ones that are benefiting from these incentives. So I think that working with existing property owners on rentals is a huge piece as well.
Thank you. So now I'm gonna go back to Nancy Goodlow to ask question
Number 5. Okay.
You would,
What do you think city government's role can or should be in building a safe and inclusive community? What is the role of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission in achieving a safer and more inclusive community?
and that's to Sarah first.
So as this, it was determined, a bit ago that our community needs improvement in this area of diversity and inclusion. I believe this is a two-part question. So I think that the city can and should be working with our local agencies to create a safe and inclusive community. And this could be our first responders, our school district, our university, the hospital and clinics, and our local businesses. All of these agencies play a huge part in shaping our community. And I think that the city's role is to pull them together, kind of have a united front on this. And, education is a big one. And so I think that, the city pulling them together to be on the same page, so to speak, on some sort of a goal there. Now, as far as the Diversity and Equity Inclusion Commission, I believe that without representation and inclusion and diversity and equality, the community will always feel divided. Individuals and groups will feel unappreciated, unseen, and unheard. The commission's value is working with and understanding the needs of all people. I think the value that they have is showing our community that the city council and the commission are committed to change. The value is that they recognize the areas for improvement and are willing to uncover and address the root causes. I believe the commission create a community for understanding where people feel welcome, where they feel their voices are heard, they feel safe, and they feel valued.
Thank you. Henry?
So speaking from experience, having lived in Ellensburg for 5 years, I've never felt unsafe or excluded from anything, except perhaps some direct bigotry from a very, very small segment of people in town. And you might go, well, Henry, you're a married white man raising your kids in Ellensburg. Of course, you're not going to experience any bigotry. But what you might not know, and which I don't hide from anyone, but it's certainly not part of my life that I stake my identity on, are the other adjectives that accompany that statement. I'm a gay man, married to a man, helping to raise kids in Ellensburg. And while it bothers me that there are people that are so bigoted, so closed-minded that they've said the things that they've said to me, to my husband and our children over the course of the last year, it leaves me wondering what their views are regarding others. I haven't talked to them and they haven't told me because mostly they refuse to have a conversation, and bigots are always going to refuse to have a conversation. Let's be clear on that. What they're going to do is they're going to do it in passive aggressive forms. They're going to whisper. They're going to level nasty rumors, which I have faced in my time in town. They're not letting your kids hang out with our kids because they don't agree with dad's lifestyle. Being told that we don't affiliate with quote unquote your kind. The list can go on and on. Okay. But I want to be clear. This is a very, very small group of people that we've interacted with. We had 250 people at our wedding this spring. So most of them from Ellensburg. So, you know, from that perspective, I just want to clarify that. And as much as it hurts to hear the things that people say, the fact remains is I let it roll off my back because at the end of the day, I'm not a victim. I firmly believe in our rights as Americans, to the rights granted to us by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, particularly the rights to freedom of religion and the freedom of speech, apply in this arena. Speech sometimes hurt, but certain speech is protected within the boundaries of the law. Speech that comes from a particular religious belief also hurts, but it's also protected within the boundaries of the law. And as long as that speech, those religious beliefs, whatever people have the right to believe and say, do not manifest themselves into physical violence, into the property damage, or the absolute direct discrimination of others, or destroying the reputation of the citizens of Ellensburg, then that's where we're at, and we are all within our rights as Americans. And that's the attitude that we must take. My closely held beliefs, whatever they may be, are just as closely held as each of yours. It is not my duty in private life or selected for this seat to impose my worldview on others. That said, to the second part of the question, as to the role of the DEI Commission, I believe that the role of the commission as established by the ordinance that created it is a very honorable and worthwhile addition to city government. But the commission cannot go looking for problems to fix. You can't propose a solution for a problem that doesn't necessarily exist, except that you've created the problem. All that does is it creates ill feelings and hostility for everyone. However, if the commission and by extension, the city council continues to listen, to engage and to participate with members of our community from all walks of life, as the issues are brought to its attention, then we can incrementally and responsibly address the issues that face our community for the betterment of all.
Thank you. David, you get the last question.
Okay, and this goes back to Henry first. Right?
To Henry first.
So the next question, it reads, the community is deeply divided about a hypothetical issue of importance to Ellensburg's future. Describe how you would go about deciding how to vote.
Okay. So this may sound like a political cliche, but I am truly a believer in looking at all angles of everything when it comes to making decisions. The first part of this process is relying on those that are smarter than I am. When families are faced with the death of a loved one, they come to me for guidance on what they should do and what the best course to proceed might be. I give them the full picture, all of the options, all of the guidance that I can to allow them to make an educated decision about what's best for their family. And in turn, in my business life, I do the same thing on a frequent basis, asking questions and receiving guidance from my attorney, my accountant, my industry vendors, other advisors. Heck, I'm the first to admit that my husband who's sitting back there, he's smarter than I am when it comes to certain things. And I ask him. And so when faced with a decision, I'm going to rely first on hearing from those that are smarter than me in their area of expertise. As part-time city council members, none of us have the time to be experts on every issue facing the city on any given day. And so we're going to rely on the guidance offered from our city manager, our city attorney, the police chief, planning director, parks director, public works, you name it. Any one or more of the experts within city government who are paid to do their job to bring recommendations to the council who are a lot smarter on these topics than I am. So I'd take their guidance, their recommendations and reasonings. I'd ask questions until all the angles have been looked at, and then weigh that information along with public comment and my own conclusions to arrive at a decision. And also let me be clear on something. If an issue comes up in front of council for something that I've mentioned already, where perhaps it seems I hold strong opinions, and if a well-reasoned and rational argument can be made against what my preconceived notions may be, then I'm not the type who's going to hold firm and not change my mind. My mind can be changed with well-rationed and reasoned arguments, but they have to make sense. At the end of the day, any issue before the council is important to someone in the community, and it's important to Ellensburg's future. And all of council's decisions must be made based not on emotion, but on facts and thorough and careful deliberation. There we go.
Thank you. And Sarah, last question.
Okay, so historically, my decision-making process has been driven by instinct and intuition. Over the past several years as a business owner, I've learned that my decisions impact more people, including my family, my staff, and my community. So I've learned not only to incorporate my instincts and intuition, I have also come to each scenario with a mindset for the greater good. Gathering information, listening to both sides objectively and in a non-biased way despite my personal opinion. I would look beyond the moment at the short and long-term effects the decisions would have for our community. I think it's highly important that we're not all going to agree, but we need to treat each other with respect and the ability to openly discuss the topics and issues that are presented to us. And it's about finding a common ground and a compromise that best promotes the community, the businesses, and ourselves, as well as our community. I said our community. Well, I really believe our community. Say it twice. So that's how I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there, council, are there any follow-up questions you'd like to ask? Either of the candidates? Tease out anything that was said? Okay. So now that concludes our interview questions, but well, you can return to your seats or stay, whichever you're more comfortable. It is public comment time. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the candidates for council? Is there anyone online? No, zero attendees. So
Seahawks are playing tonight, so.
we
Good.
had tough
Yeah.
competition. Yeah, yeah.
You're
I'm sorry we took you away from that. So now's the time for council discussion. And if we want to move into executive session, if anyone wants to, please make a motion. So, does anyone want to start off? Or we can start with a ballot.
I could just start off with a comment, an observation. Just thank you both for being here, and I appreciate your detailed answers. And I think it's clear that you both bring a lot of interest and passion to the council opportunity. So whichever way this goes, please understand that it's going to be a difficult choice, and we appreciate you being willing to stick it out with this to this point.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the candidates? I agree. I think obviously you're both well qualified. And interestingly, you have some overlapping niches that you fill in the community, although very different businesses. And clientele that you interact with.
Probably the same clientele, just at different times.
Right.
They're about 40 years apart.
So,
Yes, so I think that we're gonna go straight to ballots unless anyone would like to lobby. So how do Monica and Rich vote?
So, Madam Mayor, we were just discussing that, and our recommendation would be that when it comes to reading, they would answer theirs verbally.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask them to answer first so that. we
And I
don't
believe
swing.
Councilmember Elliott fell off, so we're trying to get a hold of him to see if he
Oh,
can get back
okay.
on.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes,
So ballot means we write our first choice and then we say that out loud. And then based on that, is there a motion or is that how this works? I don't remember. Just
the ballot would control. So unless it's
Oh.
3, and then we'll have to reballot to see if anyone would change their minds, which
Oh, this is the vote then.
this is the vote. So,
It was
but
slightly different with yours, Monica, because there was like 13 people involved.
yeah,
So there's only 2 here, so.
It all is happening so quickly, which it does.
we did have at least 2 ballots for,
Right.
so we're gonna write our selection, and you, Monica, just need to think of yours, and then we'll pass them to the city clerk.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to see if I can call Councilmember Elliott. Get it back on.
Um, I hear a phone. Is that okay?
I believe he was on a fire tonight. isn't he?
He is on a fire. So Monica, well, or maybe Dustin needs to,
We want to wait
Well-
for the, see if we get Rich.
let's wait a few minutes. Let's see if we can get him.
So everybody else writes down their preferred candidate
And Dustin reads them.
anonymously.
No,
If you say who voted for what, each
Vote
council member.
yeah, yeah. And the reason to do this way is so that Adam, being the last to vote, doesn't get to change his vote based on,
Oh, okay.
right? So if we write them down, then
Right. So in
So-
that case, I would go first.
so you're going first just because we've already sent ours in and you can't, right?
Cool.
So I guess we could
We're still.
put it in the chat or something, but we couldn't get a hold of Rich. So, so Monica, you vote for
Sarah.
Nancy,
I voted.
or no, Dustin will read, sorry.
Councilmember Goodloe voted for Sarah Beauchamp. David Miller voted for Sarah Beauchamp. Councilmember Nguyen voted for Henry Johnston. Nancy Lopez voted for Henry Johnston.
So on a vote of 3-2, Sarah, you will be our new council person.
Thank you both again. Really.
Thank you
Yes,
for,
thank
Appreciate
you.
it very much.
Thank you.
Your answers, your
Just
insightful
doesn't
answers.
discourage you from running in another election or trying to become.
oh, I
city
was
council
ready
later
this
on.
tonight, I'll be honest,
This was-
because
yeah.
today got really busy and I went, "Oh, how am I going to fit city council and on top of on top of busy Mondays following busy weekends?" So I mean, it's by all means, the fact of the matter, Sarah and I, we're really good friends. And so this,
One of the people at the wedding.
yeah, this, yeah, no,
It
this
does
is a
get
good, this is a
busy.
good thing for Ellensburg, no matter which way it was going to go. So.
That's right.
And you'll pick his brain on stuff, so it'll.
Right, there you go.
There are plenty of opportunities to become involved, which you are with the chamber and other and
Mhm.
so maybe next time there's a centrifuge open.
Right up my alley.
Good to-
I didn't change anything, did it?
If you were able.
Oh. Well, thank you all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. So
Right, stay
we are
here.
going to
Thank
administer
you.
office to Sarah. I think Dustin has it and we stand, right?
Stand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Sarah Bosha,
solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
I will support and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America
and laws of the United States of America
and the state of Washington,
in the state of Washington,
the laws and ordinances of the city of Ellensburg,
and laws and ordinances of the city of Ellensburg.
that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
perform the duties of the office of city council member,
perform the office-
perform the duties
duties
of the office of city council member,
of office of city council member
the city of Ellensburg, Washington,
for the city of Ellensburg, Washington,
according to the law and the best of my ability.
according to the law and the best of my ability.
Thank you. And you may take a seat up here. So our next order of business is to allocate our boards and commissions. So you you get assignments.
Okay.
Is there a list for Sarah? Is there an extra packet?
Not necessarily.
Um,
She won't be able to be the chair.
So the committees that we have to fill are the Affordable Housing, the City Finance Committee. It Conference of Governments, COG, the Public Transit Advisory Committee, and the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Committee, which is lunch once a month at the pasta company. So, that being said, it is an opportunity to rearrange beyond that if anyone would like. So Sarah, you're not limited to this list. Are there committees that you would be particularly interested in serving on?
The affordable housing.
Okay, so in my speaking with Rich Elliott, he's also interested, and that is chairing that committee.
Okay, then
If,
that's good for Rich then.
I would be, just as in terms of available boards, I'd be willing to, I know you're listed, Nancy, as being on the library board, but I think I. took that
always
on.
done, and I didn't get invited.
Yeah, I've been going.
Good.
So I'd be willing to give up the library board and the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission in terms of available commissions. And I'd be interested in the City Finance Committee if that hasn't come up anywhere else yet.
Okay.
Because this is an opportunity for that also, that
It is an
conversation
opportunity.
also, right?
Yes, and I also would be interested in, if you're interested in Developmental Disabilities Board for the county, I would step down from that.
The which one? The
Developmental Disabilities Board.
Oh, okay.
And I would be willing to step down from Law and Justice if that's.
Okay, if anyone wants. So we have. There's Law and Justice. Yeah, if we could, so we have. See, Rich also expressed interest in COG, but I think we need to take something away from him if he was going to take all those.
I was going to express interest in COG as well.
Okay, okay. So
We should talk
People
about
sticks
that.
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
we need to kind of balance things too. So
As far as the COG conversation goes, I serve on that, but I've been on there for maybe 2 years. And I'd be willing to,
I can't hear.
oh, I'm sorry. I would be willing to, everyone seems to be offering up seats. So I'd be willing to step off.
So
the COG.
there are potentially 2 positions open in COG.
Yeah, Bruce was on there when I joined, so there's a few city representatives. So I'm happy to stay also, I'm happy with the COG assignment. Just want to make room for anyone who's interested.
Sarah, you interested in library board or senior citizens? Those are liaison positions. So those are the role of the liaison is for a council person to attend the meetings and report back to the council what that committee is up to, and also make sure that committee doesn't go off the rails in their own direction. that,
Right.
Where the council is
Looking at my
like,
mom
not gonna
out in
support.
the audience here. I would love to be on the senior one, and well, in the disabilities, I think would be well too, because there's our diversity in our community that I'm so passionate about. So both of those would be of interest to me.
Okay. So if we say Rich for affordable housing, Adam and Nancy for COG,
But I'm already on COG. I wasn't interested in letting that go.
oh wait,
Not COG.
not COG,
No. I
oh, the
mean,
fine,
confused.
I'm
COG.
sorry, I thought, David, you said that,
Bruce and I have been serving on COG most recently.
And then when I joined, it was Bruce and I. So I'm still
so
the
it's
alternate.
listed, it's listed as David and Bruce.
The Kittitas
Mm.
County Council of Governments, right?
Oh, Council of Governments. I'm sorry.
You
I was
were.
thinking the chamber. Yeah, the
Finance
chamber one. Sorry,
committee? Not the
my
chamber.
bad.
Chamber.
Oh, the chamber.
Oh, count-
Yeah.
Yes. So
Okay. Okay. So back to council of governments. If Adam, if we point Adam and Nancy, just tentatively, because if no one takes law and justice, that's kind of an overload for you, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not,
If she's looking,
I could keep my load that I have and be
Uh-huh.
perfectly happy. At some point, it was interesting to me to maybe serve on the COG, but
I wouldn't be opposed to taking law and justice either. Kind of
Okay.
in the wheelhouse of the studying that I'm doing currently.
it'd be great.
And Monica, you were interested in the finance committee?
Yes.
second.
Second one. Top.
Okay, so as Heidi, as you're reallocating,
Yes.
let's reallocate and then we'll just make sure everyone is kind of even. So public transit advisory. David, would you be interested in that?
I can, yes, I think I could take that on. I do have I want to make sure. I see they meet on the third Tuesday and I have a conflict on the September meeting, but that shouldn't be an ongoing thing. That's just, I've already got
Just a one time.
yeah, on the 20th, so.
Is it the chair of that, or is he still the chair?
Did we look at whether for affordable housing and the transit, if
Correct.
the council person is the chair? Is
So I looked at both of those. It's not in our code that the council person is the chair of either of those.
that- Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
the Affordable Housing Commission could elect a new chair of the commission and as well
Okay.
as PTAC.
I steered you wrong, Sarah.
So yes, in general, I can. Barring some reallocation or balancing, I think that would be one we could.
Okay.
I could pick up.
It's not the chair position, so you don't have to be the chair.
Well, yeah, he also expressed interest in COG,
Who was that?
Rich.
Oh, Rich.
If he would like COG, and I can take law and justice, we can make that switch. That way Rich can get the one that he wants since he's not here to debate for himself.
Okay. So Sarah, you want affordable housing?
Well, I think it would be great, but the experience level, Rich might be a better candidate to be on there.
if it's not in the chair position necessarily, and I don't know who is on that commission that could step up and chair it.
I think we have a few seasoned veterans on as commissioners.
And the staff in it's got 'em
Solid
in a
staff
good
too.
line.
Yes.
So, so I think that does work. And he initially wanted, COG.
Okay.
So we're gonna go Sarah on affordable housing and Rich and Nancy on COG. Monica on finance, Adam on law and justice, Sarah on disabilities board, David on public transit. Sarah's got senior citizens. And I could take library board. I started on the library board before I was elected.
I mean, I could keep it. You have a lot. And I've been going, and it's fine. They're not going off the rails or anything, like you said. That was just one I'd be willing to swap out if
Okay.
Sarah was interested in it. And her name's on it now, right?
I think that was
No.
an error.
Oh, okay.
So who wouldn't you like that to go to?
But
Monica or Nancy?
then right now it looks like Sarah would only have 3.
Um, versus, well, let's see. So Monica would have 4, Sarah would have 3. Oh, you know what? I have not been meeting with the associated, the CW board either. That's not one, that's one that Bruce developed that relationship and I never have. Sarah, would you be interested in that, developing a relationship with the association of students, student body?
Oh, absolutely. At the university.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I was also interested in that one last term, Nancy, and you said that would be better for a senior council member.
If you if you would like it, Monica, I obviously have not done anything with it, so so either Monica or Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I have been interested in that in a while, but I think we could share that interest too. I think more than one of us could do it.
Okay. So that just added one in your column.
Yeah,
You're up to 5. Is there something?
4, 5. Well, the finance is quarterly, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And
And the others are liaison.
yeah,
Does Rich have 6? Are we up to 6? Rich, so he's had it right now. right?
So is there anything we can take away from Rich without his
Without his permission.
permission?
Um,
Maybe we could do this for now and then at the next meeting, he is actually in attendance. We can, because we've got the vacancies covered, but we can do a little more tweaking at our next meeting, potentially.
Absolutely. And I would ask that you all look at your column and make sure we recorded these properly.
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
I was going to say on the I-90 coalition, Mr. I-90, I've had 2 meetings in a year. It's not something we have. So that's a pretty light.
Okay.
When I get an invitation to a meeting, I usually go, but I don't get many invitations. So,
It's the same with the SWAC, the Solid Waste
Oh, yeah,
Advisory Committee.
yeah,
About to have our second one, I think, next week,
Yeah.
since I've done. it. So,
Adam, I can't hear you very well.
sorry,
Yellow
but
card from me.
Just talking to them about SWAC and how it hardly meets. We're about to have our second meeting in the 9 months that I've been on council.
And then I'll scroll down for the liaison.
So-
positions.
So actually, I'm not sure. When I look down the list of Rich's assignments, I think most of them make a lot of sense and he needs to be there, but the planning commission might be one that we could have someone else be liaison on that.
Wouldn't be opposed to putting my hand in the mix.
Okay,
The,
and that would be 3.
6 for Adam, or does he give
yeah,
it?
the bowling alley subcommittee is probably gonna come to an end soon.
Yeah, and SWAC is light.
Knock on wood on that one. We're looking at 2 RFPs right now for that one, and we have a meeting coming up soon.
Okay.
And then SWAC, they only meet once every 3 to 4 months.
Okay,
Okay, so that's kind of a part-time. Right? It's kind
yeah,
of like the I-90 thing.
right.
It's-
It's,
Well, if I eliminate the I-90 committee as a sometimes thing, I've only got 3. So I don't feel like I'm
okay,
necessarily carrying my share. I'd be happy to hang on to COG. But, you know.
so we'll,
For what? Well, I heard that Rich was going to be moving into one of those spots. And so that was-
he expressed interest.
Okay, so,
So we can revisit this. Let's kind of maybe send this out to everyone and revisit it at our next meeting to finalize it when Rich and Monica are in the room.
And Mayor, did I have you and Rich on COG as proposed new?
No,
people?
Nancy Goodlow.
Nancy Goodlow. That's
Right.
what I thought.
Nancy? Okay. So, do you notify some of these outside?
Yeah,
So-
staff will make the notifications tomorrow and internally and externally.
Okay. Unless we want to just wait until next Monday.
We can do
After we
that
finalize
as well. We might reach out if there are meetings coming up to let folks know.
Yeah, so, yeah, if we could provide notice at least to the meeting times that happen this week, that would be good. And I'll get you information about developmental disabilities. Okay. Think that concludes our agenda. And so we will adjourn.
Thanks. Night, y'all.
thank you.
Let's talk.
So you're looking at a